Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve has spoken, and the market did not like it. Looking at stocks today, it was kind of a bloodbath, and we had some increased selling pressure in multiple different industries. In today's video, we're going to talk about the most important things you need to know, some awesome setups for tomorrow, and towards the end of the video, we have a $1.2 million smart money trade that you won't want to miss. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, like you said, Jerome Powell played a big role in the market today. And like we've been talking about over the past few days, they were going to have that interest rate decision. And they did exactly what we expected. They came out with a 0.25% or 25 basis point rate hike. And that's exactly what the market kind of wanted. And we started actually moving up initially, and we held our ground very strong. But once Jerome Powell spoke, and specifically whenever he got towards the end of his speech, we started to really see the market move off to the downside as he answered a lot of those questions. And he was pressed on things like recession, the bank failures, and different things like that. And the market ended up actually sinking down quite a bit. And there's a lot to the Powell situation, Mike. There's been a lot of big statements that he made. There was obviously, he made some things like there are no promises in this, but it seems to me it's possible that we could continue to have a cooling labor market and a market without the big increases in unemployment that have gone with many prior episodes. And he also made the statement that he said it's more likely that they were going to be avoiding a recession in his view than having one. And I thought that was a pretty big statement. He keeps acting like we might be able to avoid this upcoming recession that everybody keeps talking about, Mike. I don't know about you, but it seems like we're going to have one, and he might just be putting on a fresh face for the market, I think.
Yeah, and I think the market tells us its opinion on what Powell said today. You know, it's like, yeah, Powell, you can say, you think that we're most likely not going to have a recession, but the market doesn't really believe you, as we can tell by today's price action. And, if we look for a little bit intraday, whether it's Apple or SPY or basically any other stock today, there was a lot of chop and just straight up volatility throughout this event. But, just investors were not convinced enough to sustain these levels. And Tom, coming off this event, I'll tell you, whether you're looking at Apple or Nvidia or really any other stock right now, we have a lot of companies trading at some pretty aggressive levels, and I would not be surprised at all if we saw a little bit of a pullback in the short term.
Yeah, I would not be surprised either. And, you talked about some of these big tech stocks. I heard you mention Meta. Look at this huge drop that Meta had intraday today. They actually had some pretty bad news coming out, in my opinion, Mike. The FTC is actually looking to, they're looking to make sure that Meta will not profit off of young users' data. So that's going to be pretty big here. They're going to bar them from monetizing that data from people under the age of 18. That is a pretty big thing here. We know that there's a lot of, I guess you'd say minors on Instagram, Facebook, and all of their other platforms. So that's definitely going to be a pretty big thing. And they just, the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection pretty much said that they just keep repeatedly violating their privacy promises. But I will say a Meta spokesperson hit right back and called it a political stunt and said that they didn't really get the opportunity to really discuss anything with them. So I feel like, Mike, this is actually pretty okay for Meta in the way that it recovered because of the way that they hit back. And looking at the stock today, it did come back a little bit, but that was a very worrying drop for a little while.
And looking at Meta stock, it's like, as we've been saying over like the past couple weeks at this point, it's like Meta stock is up like 175% since, you could say, November of 2022. That is a giant increase, especially for a company that is the size of Meta. And when you have this news plus just weakness in the overall market, it's certainly not a bullish thing for the stock. At the same time, I don't necessarily expect Meta stock to fall off a cliff and return down to, $80 a share right now. But I really would not even be surprised if Meta had like a decent pullback to like that 220 or 225 level. And, depending on how the overall market is, we might even see a continued sell-off from there.
Yeah, I think we could too. And, we recently had a huge breakout out of a downwards channel down there. And once we broke out, it was like a big gap to the upside on those good earnings. Not every stock had good earnings, but it was pretty good to see some of those tech stocks running up for a little while. And like you said, I could see us kind of moving back down into that pre-earnings range or even that like high right there around 220, 225. I think that's actually very attainable. And it's one of my favorite stocks to the downside over the next few days. Meta has just been one of those stocks, Mike, like we've been talking about, so overextended, just like NVIDIA. Those two stocks right now were just such powerhouses on their recoveries. And, with them starting to fall under big supports, these puts are looking pretty good. NVIDIA actually fell under 280, which we talked about a lot on the book map yesterday.
You know it. So, Tom, we had one major event, or I guess you could say the major event of the week, pass by us today, but we still are in for an exciting show. We have the powerhouse Apple set to report earnings tomorrow after the bell. They will also report with Shopify, Block, Coinbase, and DraftKings. So, I'm very, very excited for tomorrow. Apple is the most powerful company in the S&P 500 by a long shot. And, of course, you can't forget about like Coinbase and DraftKings and Shopify reporting as well.
Yeah, exactly. I know you said Shopify was your favorite earlier in the week, and that's going to be a fun one too. And we even have Anheuser-Busch reporting in the morning, with all that stuff going on with their boycotts and everything like that. I wonder if that stock's going to end up falling off a cliff. I will say, if we go look at BUD and we go out to a daily chart, they've been starting to kind of fall down a little bit ever since this boycott's been going on. So I'm kind of curious if we're going to start to pull back a little bit more with this one. And I have a feeling that these earnings might go pretty bad for them.
Yeah, we will see. But with that being said, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. One stock I'm watching very closely is Apple. So Apple has been pulling back a little bit over the past couple days. It's pretty weak and it has a lot of room to the downside. So for tomorrow and the rest of the week, I will be watching it to the downside. But a very, 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 very important thing to note is that they have earnings tomorrow, and earnings are extremely crazy. So I do not think it's smart to hold this stock through earnings, but everything besides that, I will be watching it for a play down. I'll be watching puts on it very closely, and I think it's even decent just for like a short play like for the stock itself.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's so overextended in the short term, and I cannot believe how much some of these stocks have recovered up. Apple, even in after hours tonight, is really getting low, Mike, all the way down to 166.74, and we close around like 167 to 167.20. So it's pretty crazy to see us continuing down that hard here. I wonder where we're going to open up in the morning. And, with all this big fear going on with tech and everything like that, I know that we mentioned gold yesterday on our momentum plays, and that actually continued up today in a huge way, broke that double top perfectly, and even confirmed off of it after Powell spoke, and now we're running right back up and it had a nice double top into close. So if we're able to break above that double top at 189.20, I'm going to look at more calls tomorrow. With all this fear coming in, it's nice to see gold and silver starting to move. People are going to start moving into those safer assets as the market starts to pull back a little.
Perfect. Another stock I'm watching very closely is Adobe. This stock got crushed today, where basically their merger with Figma is having some problems in the UK. The stock tanked down. It has a lot of downwards momentum right now, and I would not be surprised if this sell-off continued. Right now, it's lingering right around 345, and it has some room down to, honestly, I'm looking at like the 325 level. So keep a close eye on it. And actually, our bot just sniped a put play with this one today. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check this out. Today, our bot called out the Adobe 360 strike put options at $508 each. By the end of the day, these put options were trading for $1,520 each. Yes, basically $508 to $1,520 each. So almost 3x. If you're into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Our bots do an awesome job, and they're about to get a whole lot smarter next week. We have a giant update coming. I've been working my ass off behind the scenes to code some really, really cool stuff. and the prices of the program will rise because of that. So if you've been wanting to try out our software, now's the time. If you're into short-term trading, there's no better program out there. You will also save $41 off your first month using the link in the description and the comments down below. So definitely check it out. You'll get access to the bot plays that are day trades, swing trades, and a bunch of other great features. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right back into the setups for tomorrow. What is the last stock you're watching?
Yeah, it's actually Netflix. With all these big tech stocks starting to fall off, Netflix had a pretty bad move with their earnings a couple weeks ago. And they fell off a little bit, but they didn't really fall off too much, in my opinion. They've been really holding this big support here right around 315 to 316. So if we get under that 316 to 315 level tomorrow, I'm definitely going to be watching puts on this one. They have bad earnings. They keep rejecting overhead at that 330 resistance. And I really feel like that this stock is starting to show some good negative signs with that bad earnings report. And if we go look at a big trend line on the daily, they're starting to really get below that too. So I could see a pullback maybe down to like 310 and then maybe 300 after that. I think a good test of that 300 even level would be pretty nice over the next couple weeks.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that being said, let's get right into those momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have good old Boeing to the downside.
BA, what a terrible drop from them today. Of course, they can't help it though. The overall market definitely sent them down, and they're sitting right around $200 even. I cannot even stress how big of a level this is. If they break under 200, I think that'll be an amazing put opportunity for the next few days. Give or take a few cents though, it might get a little bit volatile around that area. It is a $200 stock, so keep that in mind, but it's a pretty big level, Mike. That's a big psychological level.
There we go. Another stock we're watching pretty closely is GLD, but this one is actually to the upside.
Yeah, so go ahead and make them break that double top at the end of the day, right around 189.20.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Tesla, and we need both directions.
TSLA, terrible move from them today. They moved up and then dropped right back down. If they break under that recent support at 159, watch for puts to the downside. But if they're able to get back above that intraday resistance, right around 163, where there was a lot of candlesticks, then go ahead and watch them back up. So 163 to the upside and 159 to the downside.
All right, well, you guys heard Tom. We have that upside level. If it breaks above that, we're watching it for a day trade up. We also have that downside level as well. So if it breaks below that, we're watching it for a day trade down. Don't forget GLD with that upside level, and then Boeing with that downside level as well. But it is now time for the $1.2 million trade of the day. We are looking at WSM. Basically, someone dumped $1.2 million into the WSM 100 strike put options that expire on June 16th of 2023. Basically, this stock has been in a nonstop downtrend since November of 2021. It had some decent downwards selling pressure today, and there's a giant support level at $110, and then there's another support level at $100 even. I will be watching this stock pretty closely for a play down. The puts are a little bit out of the money. They're like $15 out of the money, but there's also a little bit of time to them. So I'll keep a close eye on this stock. $1.2 million is definitely nothing to ignore.
Yeah, it's not. If this stock starts to continue down here off of this big turnover it's having, it's even breaking recent support around 116. So I love this one, Mike. It looks like it's starting to pick up some good momentum. And like you said, I feel like that 110 level could be very attainable over the next couple weeks. And that could be a great play for these guys. If it goes down to 110, these 100 strike puts might pop up. They might end up making a couple hundred grand or a couple hundred, thousand on this one, or, maybe even like 500K if it's a good enough play. But man, it's definitely interesting here. I'll be keeping it on the radar, and I love it that it's out to June 16th. It's not like it's super far away or anything like that.
Exactly. All right, good stuff. So, Tom, we have a couple more events for the week, mainly earnings, which should bring in a lot of good volatility. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else you're watching for tomorrow?
Yeah, I really think that those plays on GLD are a little bit underrated here. It's really starting to continue up on the uptrend. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button too, guys. It was an amazing day today with Jerome Powell. He definitely provided a lot of entertainment, to say the least, Mike. I know that the market was all over the place, but man, that guy just, it's crazy how much he captivates everybody. It's awesome. I imagine being in his position. He must be up there shaking in his boots sometimes. Just imagine slipping up, saying the wrong word, and the whole market goes down.
They call him Big Daddy Powell for a reason, you can say. A lot of people look at him as one of the most powerful people in the world, and he definitely has a huge role. So good stuff there. Again, if you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. The bots just crushed it today. That Adobe play was one of the best we've seen in a while. 508 up to $1,520 each. So that was a boomer. Check out that first link down below if you want to get started. And last but not least, giant shout out to today's member of the day, NQ Ninja, in the chat. You're still very new, but your activity has been great so far. So make sure to keep it up. And besides that, let's have an amazing end to the week.